see I have a really cool banner up. It says, "Believe in your dreams." So what about you this morning? What are you working on this morning? What are you doing? Usually I'm popping in, giving you a little word of encouragement. Today is Friday, so happy Friday to you. One of the things I want to share with you this morning is, sometimes you just gotta leave the mistakes visible. This is something I learned a zillion years ago. Yes, I used the word a zillion years ago. I am not a young girl. I have been around the block quite a few times, honey. So sometimes you got to leave the mistakes visible. The reason why I say this is because for a long time I followed people, and this was in the day and time when there was no such thing as internet. There was no such thing as, phones and smartphones and that kind of thing. We didn't have that. Okay. So that's why I say a zillion years ago. We didn't have that. The only thing that I knew of was the example that I had right in front of me. Okay. And some of these examples exampled to me as though they were flawless. Okay. And the only content I knew them as was a conference speaker, someone that occasionally I seen at a dinner table that they were minding their manners. And so that was the only visual I ever had. And I was like, I cannot possibly live up to this polished person. There is no way that I could do that. So I didn't have a reference of hope. I didn't have a reference of any kind of, I couldn't envision myself, becoming, and all that I could envision was that I was a young mom and I had dreams. I had things in my heart that I wanted them to come to surface. I had things that I had been through that I knew that I could bring to the table. I had experiences and learning things that people that I had learned from that I could bring to the table. I had a background in sports. I had a background in being an athlete. I had accomplished some things in life as far as like motocross and racing and falling and then getting back up and going on and how to make that work. What does that look like? And it looked messy. It looked really, really messy. And I only, in the wisdom that I have through sports, I only could have looked at these people that were so polished on stage and were ministering the gospel with perfection. I could only imagine that can't possibly be true. That cannot possibly be true. We are human. No one can be that polished. And it wasn't only until recently, which I'm really grateful to, guys, if you're out there listening to me today, I'm really grateful that you are beginning to share with us some of the flaws, that you're beginning to share with us some of the mistakes. We need to know this in this generation, because how can we even imagine to be in a certain place and to have some kind of hope unless we knew that there was a point of learning in your lives. And where did you learn, and how did you learn, and what mistakes did you make to reference that back to? We need to know that. So I'm grateful to those who are brave enough to share some of their past mistakes in the ministry, and how to correct them, and what does it look like going through the correcting of those mistakes. Okay, because there are so many people out there that they think that ministers are flawless. Just so that you know, we are not flawless. We are not flawless, okay? So we do have things that we go through. We have issues. We have, our humanity. We have, extended family and family that we are trying to get along with. And, that doesn't always go well. And sometimes sometimes we face things around the corner that we didn't even expect or could even imagine, such as death, such as children going astray, and things like that. And recently I've been, really looking at the youth. I've been studying a lot of youth ministries in England. And, some of these young youth pastors who are coming up, they're not so young anymore. They were young back in the day, but they're not so young anymore. Guys, you're getting old, okay? So some of these guys have a lot of experience because they come from a generation where they grew up in the ministry. They grew up in church. Their parents were the pastor, or their parents were in the ministry, or whatever it might be. Of all different ethnic backgrounds, I want to also add all different ethnic backgrounds, and some of which religion was really embedded into their culture. And so much so that they what they took from that was that their parents cared more for the quote ministry than they did for actual people and their actual family. And so there's a big difference. And what the children of this generation took away was they took away the fact that they were not paid attention to and that they weren't important. And so they went away, kind of straying away from wanting to be in ministry. And some even really strayed away, into the world. And they found what they needed, the care, the attention, within their peer groups, or within school, or somewhere else outside of church, because church, you couldn't make any mistakes if you went to church. You had to sit there and not make any mistakes. And there was no grace in that. And so today's generation, what we're seeing is those are the youth pastors of today, but the youth pastors now have their own children. And what we're finding is those children are the ones that are the millennials, and they want to do something in the world that is important. They want to be included today. And if you're looking at the world in itself today, you're seeing war, but you're seeing a war in a different light, because now we all have social media and we all have a voice in it. So what you're seeing is that you're seeing the Ukrainian people, and they're young people, 19, 20, on their social media. posting and giving their perspective. And it's a whole different strategy of war. You're seeing Iran and the Iranian people, you're seeing them stand for justice for a young girl who was killed because she let her hair show. You're seeing them fight with social media. And so you're looking at a whole different world today. And, you know, I'm thinking about my grandson, who is the child of my children who are pastors' kids. And, you know, I see my grandchildren rising up. I see them on, you know, they already understand the gadgets. You know, I'm pretty sure, positive, that they're not going to have a book Bible with real paper. They're going to have their Bible in an app where they will know it from there. They will study from the internet, you know, because there's so many resources in the internet. And how they get their sermon, they'll probably Google it, you know. You know, and how will they get intimate with God? Well, that is going to have to come through many different avenues. They're going to have to find a way to become intimate with God. And honestly, my son being the millennial, my daughters being millennials, who are the generation that want to make a difference, who want to be included, some of which are the ones that have strayed away because of the fact that they felt that they were ignored and that the ministry was more important than they were, you know, that they couldn't make mistakes. You know, I feel like I wasn't that kind of a parent. I feel like I allowed my children to make mistakes and gave them the grace. And that's probably why they all are serving the Lord. Every single one of my children are serving the Lord and taking their children to church. And so, you know, that grace and love was included even in the midst of brokenness and unexpected things around the corner, life issues, and, you know, things that happen with other people that you can't control. You know, I think that they seen a mother who cried out to God. I think that they seen a mother who was not perfect, who was very angry. And I think that they seen a mother who, you know, had the courage to apologize and repent and turn, you know, from anger to forgiveness. You know, and I think that allowed them to have the grace to forgive, to see, to understand that the world is not perfect, and we don't know who is going to, you know, make the mistakes or what is going to happen along the way and what people are going to do. You just do not know, and we can't control that. The only people that we can control, and sometimes we can't even control, is ourselves, and we have to come to Christ so that we can have that avenue of and way of grace and forgiveness through Him. And so I think that the generation today is learning so much, and I love the generation of today, and I cannot wait to see what the generation of my grandchildren will be like. And that I can have some kind of input in it, some kind of legacy in it. And if I'm not being, then they're not going to see it. If I'm just, you know, being, not, if I stop all my dreams, if I stop my believing, if I stop my growing and just stay stagnant, and just exist, my grandchildren won't know that. They won't see that. Is you have to live that out. And so that's where I want to stay with today. Think about those things, and I hope it helps you. I hope it helps you to dream bigger. I hope you are living that out. And I hope that you continue on in all of the things that you dream of doing. Because I think that if you are dreaming of something that is along the lines of ministry or helping others and things like that, I think that God is in that. I don't think we're all boxed up into this box of we all have to be, a certain type of way. That's what I was in my belief system. And I was growing up in church. You have to be a certain way. And that's not true. So you have the ability and the grace and the gifting that you bring and the uniqueness that you bring to your whole environment. So do that, and do it together while serving the Lord, because He is the most important person in this story, and always glorify Him. So bye for now. I love you guys. Peace out.